Hi, it's Toby from Heavyweight MMA. Today with Stephen Erceg, the latest Aussie to be signed with the UFC, man. How are you?
Yeah, I'm very good. Thanks for talking to me.
Man, it's sometimes difficult to catch you Perth boys, but here we are, face to face, ready to go. Good to see you, bro.
Yeah, you too.
Now, bro, you've been off for a while. You had a fight recently, but between that, you had like a bit more than a year off. That was kind of, you were trying to get onto the Contender series. Finally, it's come to fruition and you had another fight. They picked you up for UFC. But during that time, was that a stressful time, like getting ready and just not knowing what's going to happen in the future?
Yeah, I wouldn't say it's stressful, but it was frustrating because obviously I thought I was going to have a huge opportunity in fighting the Contender, all that sort of stuff, and that sort of fell apart. And then it was more frustrating just in the fact that I was trying to keep active and I couldn't get anybody to say yes. So luckily for me, Eternal went above and beyond to sort of bring somebody in. They don't usually like to bring people in from overseas or other countries and stuff like that because it doesn't really help Australia's brand as far as they're concerned. But obviously I was in a very weird position where nobody in the country was willing to fight me, and so they sort of went out of their way to help me out. So I was very appreciative.
Yeah, man, and that was Japanese Soichiro Hirai in February. You did very well. Obviously, took him out within the first round with a submission. Coming up to that fight again, talking about pressure, you knew there was the UFC guys in the audience, matchmakers, obviously willing to come and watch you perform. Did that add to the pressure of a long time without fighting and then having to fight in front of someone like that?
Yeah, it honestly to me felt like very similar to what the Contender was going to feel like. Whereas I don't feel like I can just win the fight. I feel like I had to sort of perform really well too, and make it exciting somehow. So that felt to me like my Contender fight.
Yeah, man. I think in a way it would. I think in a way the Contender series, like being out of your country in a different area, might be a little bit more intense. According to a couple of the guys we talked to, like Jack Jenkins as an example, I think he was under tremendous pressure being over there. But in a way, having a high-ranked UFC guy there watching you would be similar, right?
Yeah, for sure. Just you never know what they're thinking, and just that alone creates extra pressure.
That's it, man. That's it. Hey, during that year that you're off, did you use that time to work on development of skills and that because you're in between fights? Did it give you an opportunity to like pick up any new things or work on certain areas?
Yeah, of course. Like I'm always training whether I have fights or not. So, I was continually working on my skills. And if I look back now compared to when I was supposed to fight on the Contender last year, I'm so much better than then. I would kill myself of back then. So I feel like coming into the UFC now, I feel like I can make more of a statement than I would have been able to back then.
Yeah, so turning it into a positive, right? Do you think, man, like in Australia, you know, you've been winning, you're on a long, I think it's an 8-fight winning streak from memory. Will this be the challenge you're looking for, man? I mean, you're going along, in your mind, you've had UFC in the vision for a long time, a couple of years ago, and I started talking to you or talking about it. Is this a challenge you've been looking for, bro? Stepping out of the comfort zone, stepping out of Australia pretty much, probably anyway, for your fighting. Is that something that kind of excites you, something that you're looking forward to?
Yeah, I want to fight the best people in the world. I want to know exactly where I am. So I think that I'm one of the best in the world. So that's my thought process. And I think you sort of have to feel like that if you're fighting. But if I find out that I suck and then I'm going to get minced by all the guy at the lower echelon of the UFC in the Flyweight Division, that's good too. I just want to know where I stand. I'm going to do everything I can to prove that I'm not the lower echelon and that I'm at the top of the division. But if it turns out that I'm not as good as I thought I am, at least I got to find out. Like I pushed myself to the absolute limit, and I don't have to look back with any regrets or anything like that.
How does it feel, man, to be, so you are the big fish in the small pond, which is the Australian scene, bro. Most of your pro fights have been in Australia. I think you had some amateur outside in Singapore or something. To step out and then be the small fish. You've been a main eventer. Now you're going back and you're going to be a prelim or an early prelim, bro, to get into the show. How does that feel psychologically to you?
Uh, Honestly, I feel like through your fight career, that sort of kind of happens anyway. Like I started on a show called WKA over in Perth, fighting as an amateur, and I was starting to fight near the end of the cards as an amateur because they didn't really have a big MMA scene. Coming into a pro, I then go back to the start of the card on like Eternal and Hex and all that sort of stuff. So I already have experienced that type of thing. And like even looking outside of fighting, when I'm playing football, you feel like you get to like a certain level. Okay, I'm probably the best in the team, best 2 or 3 in the team. And then all of a sudden you go up to Colts or you play in the development squad or something like that. And then you realize, oh, wow, there's a big learning curve. I'm not the best in my team anymore. I'm back down to the bottom. I'm going to have to work my way back up to be recognized. So like different experiences in my life, I think, have led me to like be comfortable with going from main event to first or second card fight on the card.
Yeah, man. You mentioned that you did a bit of training over in the States. I think it was during the last year, and that made you feel confident in your level and the level of training back home, bro. Can you talk on that a little bit?
Yeah, it's just anytime you hear about like wrestling in the US or just like anytime you see like people from a different country, you look at them like, oh, how's our level? Because America's obviously massive, and we are a much smaller country, so you always wonder about whether our level can compare. And like I've been wrestling for a long time now, in Perth and like Australia, and I feel like I'm one of the best in the country at like just straight wrestling. And then going over there, they have the NCAA, they have like Olympic champions, all that sort of stuff. So it's like, how is that specifically going to compare? Because our jiu-jitsu, I feel like as a whole, compares really well. Like if you look at the world level guys, ours does really well against theirs. Like there's not as many of us, but the best guys are competitive with the best guys. If you look at striking, I honestly think that our striking, except for pure boxing, our striking as a whole is better than the people in the US and stuff like that. But our wrestling is definitely not to the standard. So I wanted to mostly compare my wrestling to theirs. And I really feel like some of the people I trained with were really good wrestlers, and they did get the better of me. I'm not going to say that I went out and beat them up or anything like that, but I trained with these guys, and I did way better than I expected. I get to see, okay, I'm right there. Like if my wrestling's right there, I know that my striking's definitely up there with theirs, if not better, and my jiu-jitsu can at least compare to theirs as well. So lots of things I did gave me like extra confidence, knowing that like Australia is not that far behind, if it's behind at all. And not just looking at training, you look at all the world champions and coming through in boxing, you look at Anzacs in general, and we're killing it over in the US at the moment. So just as a whole, we're definitely more than ready to take them out.
That's it, man. You actually, when we first chatted a long time ago, you actually mentioned that you felt that if it was a straight wrestling match, some of those guys would take you out, obviously, because that's their expertise. But when it comes to wrestling and grappling for MMA and adding the strikes and everything, that you feel that you mix it up really well and that you could compete with them. So it's good to have that little taste anyway, get over there, have a couple of those looks, and then come back feeling confident. It's good you didn't come back feeling like you had to work on stuff. So, that's good for us. Yeah, good for Australia. Man.
The only time I felt demoralized recently, and like badly, was I did a little thing with Volk. He came over to Scrappy. I was training at Scrappy that day, and man, I felt horrible. I questioned my whole career at that point.
Man,
so that's
yeah. Well, when we compare yourself to the number one, equal number one pound for pound in the world, it can be a pretty tough comparison. Hey, man. Speaking on that, obviously, you were just talking about comparing yourself around. Well, we've realised that the Australian skills are up there. Like you said, we've got a lot of striking history, so the striking level in Australia and New Zealand's always been strong. But wrestling too, man. We've obviously realised that the counter to Dagestani wrestling is just you just need 2 components to beat it. Is 1, be Australian, and 2, also play rugby at some point in your career. So you sound like you got that already.
Yeah, well, I didn't play a lot of rugby, but I did play a couple of games for the school. So if that's enough, I'm there.
Sounds like it's enough, man. So we'll look forward to seeing you against one of them. But when we look at the Flyweight division, like Brandon Moreno, obviously leading the pack at the moment. Pantoja, Kaikara France, a couple other big names, bro. How do you see yourself matching up with those? Obviously, you said you want to test yourself against the best. How do you see yourself stacking up against them at this point?
Yeah, I feel like I'll be competitive with everybody in the UFC now. So I look at Moreno and some of the stuff they do, and I really think that, obviously really tough fight, but I think I have the tools to at least give me a chance to win those fights. I think I can win those fights. But I honestly think that some of the newer guys coming through in the flyweight division are better than the old guard, I guess. So I'm really excited to see how there's like the new flood of young guys coming through in the flyweight division, like how I stack up with them as well. I think it's going to be very exciting.
Nice, man. Well, we've got a couple of we kind of need that a little bit in that division. I'd say flyweight. You look at the list, and it's really 4 or 5 guys that are known around the world. So, there's obviously a bit of room for a few up and coming stars to make a name. There's a bit more room in that division to make a name. So, they're ready for you to go, but ready for you to kick off and show how it's done.
Yeah, no, for sure. It's definitely the shallowest division at the top. Like if you look at the top 15 of welterweight, like just like name after name after name, like it's so hard to be in the top 15 there. Whereas to make a name at flyweight, doesn't feel like the same thing. So hopefully, in a couple of years, you look at the top 15 of the flyweight division, you're like, man, there's just killers everywhere. So that's the goal. That would be great for the flyweight division, I think. And then obviously, if you're the king of that division, then it really means something.
True, man. Hey, I looked you up and you got your name on the UFC site. It's spelled a little bit differently. Is that like a correct spelling or incorrect spelling? It says Erczeg.
Yeah, I thought they'd fixed it, but no, that's the incorrect spelling.
Get on to him, bro. Get on to him. Get him to put a picture there. That's what we need as well. We need a photo. It's amateur at the moment. We've got to get you in there. Also, the result on there, it looks incorrect as well, right? Like you got 9 fights, right, and 1 loss. 9 wins, 1 loss. Is that correct? And on there, they've got 7 and 1. So they got to update it a little bit. Yeah, get on to them, bro.
Exactly what it is. But there's something like on Sherdog, I think I might be 7 and 1, whereas Tapology, I'm not. And it's something to do with the promotion I fought on originally. Don't get recognised by Sherdog. I can't remember.
Okay. No problem. Bro, just and one more thing. I noticed that a gentleman you were supposed to fight before, Clayton Carpenter, he said he wants to roll you up and smoke you. Sounds a bit unusual to me. You mentioned that you don't like his attitude but respect his skills. It seems like you got a bit of animosity, someone you like to kind of wet your feet with in the UFC, right?
Yeah, I don't know. I guess our personalities don't clash very well. I don't get him as a person. Like the stuff he says just annoys me. And some of the stuff he said about my visa and stuff when I was trying to get onto UFC cards, and that sort of rubbed me the wrong way. So I'd love to punch him in the face. And,
cool.
Forward to it.
He looks like a nice, solid opponent to, like I said, wet your feet in the UFC. So hopefully that one comes up and you can settle it face to face instead of talking.
Exactly. That's all I want to do. That's the great thing about the UFC. If you have a problem with somebody, you get to sort it out like a man.
That's it, man. Anyway, thanks for your time, bro. Congratulations on taking the first step with the big dogs, man. I'm looking very much forward to seeing you perform, and I'll be supporting from over here in Macau, China. And like I said, thanks for your time, bro, and look forward to your success.
And my pleasure. Thanks for having me on, and I'll look forward to speaking to you in the future.
Cool. Thanks, bro.